Hello, my name is Charles Webster Bear. And today is May 2nd, 2021, and I am in Terrebonne, Oregon, USA. And my website is globalinternetgovernment.com. And today, I want to talk about four things. Number one, the first thing I want to talk about is depopulationism. Number two, the second thing I want to talk about is gig. Number three, the third thing I want to talk about is fog bank. And number four, the fourth thing I want to talk about is the capital. So let's begin with topic number one, depopulationism. Depopulationism is a word. Now, I don't know who invented the word depopulationism, but if it was me, I invented it in the year 2019. Now, I imagine the word can have many different meanings to many different people. In my opinion, the word depopulationism, the meaning of that word is the traditional Chinese classic definition of the one woman, one child policy. So in my opinion, the word depopulationism means that it's illegal and immoral for anyone to reproduce a second time on planet Earth in this century, the 21st century. And I've been a depopulationist since 1985. And I think that depopulationism is the only rational and fair way to save the planet. Depopulationists like myself want to create a significant and sustained decline in the human population on Earth. And by limiting everybody to one kid or zero kids, people can choose. They can either reproduce 0 times, which is the correct choice, or they can reproduce once, which is the incorrect choice. There's no longer a third option, okay? Killing the planet is no longer a third option, okay? Destroying the environment is no longer available to choose that option. That option's been removed from the table. So depopulationists like myself want to create a decline in the human population on Earth. And we want to do that because that will give the environment an opportunity to heal itself, and that will give an opportunity for more trees to grow back. And then in the future, when people want to breathe oxygen, they'll be able to do that because there'll be enough trees to make enough oxygen for people to breathe, and then we won't all suffocate to death. And that's a good thing. So that's depopulationism. Okay, environmentalists are people who want to save the planet, but they're too stupid to know how to do it. Depopulationists are people who want to save the planet and were smart enough to know how to do it. Okay, environmentalists like to talk about saving the planet. Depopulationists are actually saving the planet. So depopulationism is the latest evolution, not only in the individual, but in the nation and the planet. So as the individual person becomes more intelligent and more enlightened and more aware, they automatically become a depopulationist eventually at the end of the road, if they get there. Good luck on that. But it's also true for nations. As nations become more civilized and evolve and become more intelligent and more advanced, they too become depopulationist. And as the planet Earth improves and gets better and gets smarter and evolves, it too will become a depopulationist planet. So civilization is always evolving and improving and getting better. And the latest improvement in evolution and civilization is depopulationism. Okay, right now, the number of people on the planet is going up, and that's the wrong direction. That's a suicide course. Right? People, we don't have the right to kill the planet Earth. We don't have the right to threaten the planet Earth. But that's what we're doing, and it's wrong, and we need to stop. And that's depopulationism. It's actually quite simple. There's enough people on the planet right now, and that means you don't have to make any more people. In fact, there's probably too many people on the planet, and that means you shouldn't make any more people. So what's a sustainable number of people on planet Earth in this millennium? Well, nobody knows the answer to that question. That's a number for future generations to determine. But I'll go ahead and guess that it's around 2 or 3 billion people. But we want to go in the right direction, and that's down, and that's playing it safe, and that's stepping away from the cliff. We don't want to gamble with killing the whole planet. We don't want to gamble with jumping off the cliff. That's a risk we don't want to take. We want to play it safe. And we want to go down to 7 and 6 and 5, not up to 8 and 9 and 10. Because we don't want to blow this. Okay? This is something we want to play it safe on. So basically, smart people are depopulationists and stupid people are not. And so the smart people are trying to explain to the stupid people that they want to become depopulationists and be part of the solution and stop being part of the problem. And that's what I'm doing right now. Okay, I get the feeling I'm outnumbered, but that's all right. That's okay. I don't mind being outnumbered. But I am recruiting. I hope you're a depopulationist. And if you're not, I hope you become one. And if you are, then you should try to get other people to become depopulationists. And you should only vote for candidates that are publicly depopulationists. And you should run for office as a depopulationist. Basically, depopulationists are sane people, good people, smart people. And everybody else is either stupid and or insane and or evil. In the past, I tried to be a little more diplomatic and polite and mainstream about this. That didn't really work. So now I'm just like letting it go and throwing it out there and saying, hey man, here's the deal. But that's depopulationism. And I've been talking about depopulationism now, or the concept of depopulationism, since 1985. So after you discuss something consistently for 36 years, you get pretty good at it. So I've gotten pretty good about talking about depopulationism. So depopulationism is really the only relevant topic there is. Everything else is just minor details. Depopulationism is the only real issue. And everything else is just, so what? Now, people like to talk about climate change, and that's, so people can talk about climate change. But the solution to climate change is depopulationism. So when people talk about climate change, they're talking about the problem, but they're not talking about the solution. The problem is climate change. The solution is depopulationism. The problem is we're going to kill the planet and we're going to die with it because we're stupid. That's the problem. The solution is depopulationism. So we need to start talking about the solution. Okay, we've identified the problem, us. Now we need to identify the solution. Less of us, less of the problem. Okay. This isn't a race issue. This isn't a religion issue. This isn't a economic issue. This is a everybody issue. This is a human issue. This is an earth issue. This isn't, rich versus poor, religious versus non-religious, white versus black. This is human problem. Human. It's not man versus woman. It's all of us. It's all humans have this problem, and we need to all solve it right now while there's still time, if there's still time. And that's depopulationism. So depopulationism is the solution. It's the agenda. It's what we need to do. It's how we need to save the planet. So that's topic number one I want to talk about, depopulationism. And so we've talked about depopulationism. We've talked about topic number one. And that's good. And so now we're going to talk about topic number two. Topic number two, GIG, globalinternetgovernment.com, my website. So I created GIG in the year 2000 in Portland, Oregon. And gig is the world government. Global internet government is the world government. And I created it in Portland, Oregon in the spring of 2000. I can't remember the exact day. And so gig is the world government. Gig is going to unify the human race politically and economically. Gig is going to unify the human race politically with freedom and democracy and equality and reproductive rights. And reproductive rights means that all human beings have the right to total and free access to all forms of birth control, including abortion and birth control education. And any government that does not completely support that is an illegitimate government and will be replaced quickly and peacefully by a legitimate government. So that's how gig is going to unite the planet Earth politically. Gig is also going to unite the planet Earth economically with transparency and trade agreements and balanced budget amendments. And gig is going to monitor every financial transaction by every government on the planet Earth. And gig is going to put every financial transaction by every government on the planet Earth online immediately, publicly. And so everybody can see exactly where all the money's going and who gets it and how much they get and when they get it and what they do with it and why they got it and who they got it from, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's how gig is going to unite the planet politically and economically. Gig is going to provide a platform for all human beings everywhere to participate in and contribute to the world government. The world government is going to promote total freedom of speech for everybody, no censorship, and basically, gig is going to be a lot like the European Union. In other words, countries can join the European Union and the European Union can grow as a world government, but they have to agree to the terms first, and they have to be invited in, and they have to agree to the terms, and they do that with an election. And gig's going to work the same way. Any country in the world can be part of gig, but they have to be invited in and they have to agree to the terms. And the terms are, number one, you have to make depopulationism the law. The first requirement to be part of gig is you have to make it illegal for anybody in your country to reproduce. So a second time. And that's number one. Number two is you have to have total freedom of speech in the press and everywhere else. Every citizen has to have total freedom of speech, online and offline. That's number two. And that's something that there's a lot of wiggle room there for communist countries. I can work with communist countries on that. There's a lot of wiggle room there Anyway, number three, and there's a lot of wiggle room on number three for communist countries too. If a country wants to be part of GIG, just like if they want to be part of the EU, they have to have an election, and the majority of that country as voters have to vote, yes, we want in. So if you want in on GIG, if you want your country to be part of GIG, you have to meet the requirements, which are depopulationism, freedom of speech. You have to have less than 3% inflation annually for over 3 years in a row. And you have to have the majority of the voters in your country vote for it, and then you're in. And if you want out, you can get out. You just have to have another election, and the majority of the voters have to vote out. So countries can enter GIG if they meet the requirements and they vote yes, and countries can leave GIG if they vote to leave. So that's global internet government. Okay, there's already a world government. It's called the United Nations and the International Monetary Fund. And GIG supports both of those institutions 100%, and GIG's just going to help them out and help them do a better job and a faster job. Okay, I didn't invent depopulationism, the Chinese did. I just improved it and made it available to everybody. Okay, and then the Europeans invented the European Union, and I'm like, well, okay, I'll just improve that and make it available to everybody, which is what I did. GIG. You know, just like as human beings we evolve spiritually into depopulationists, so too as nations do we evolve into global internet government. It's evolution. We're getting better as people, and we're becoming depopulationists. We're getting better as countries, and we're becoming part of global internet government. Onward and upward. Okay, so let's talk about topic number 3. Topic number 3 is FogBank. And FogBank is my cyber currency that I invented in 2019. FogBank. Okay, so FogBank is my cyber currency, and the unit of currency is called a FogBuck, FOGBUK. And anybody anywhere can buy as many FogBucks as they want for a penny each. That's right. Now, the value of a FogBuck is 0. Nothing. However, hopefully, ideally, the value of a FogBuck will, over time, increase to something. It can't decrease, because FogBank doesn't loan stuff or do debt or any of that. and never will. Okay, so a fog buck, anybody can buy as many fog bucks as they want for a penny each. And the value of a fog buck is 0. And hopefully over time that value will increase. And if that happens, then the value of a fog buck will fluctuate. And that's the nature of all currency, especially cyber currency, is it fluctuates, goes up and down. Okay, so a fog buck is spelled F-O-G-B-U-K, and plural is fog bucks, F-O-G-B-U-X. Okay, there's also something called a fog bick, F-O-G-B-I-K. And plural is F-O-G-B-I-X. Now, a fog buck and a fog bick always have the exact same value. They're always worth the exact same amount. Now, a fog buck is something that anybody can buy for a penny each. A fog bick is something that Fog Bank gives to an individual. So if you buy a fog buck from Fog Bank for a penny, good for you. If Fog Bank gives you a fog bick, good for you. A fog bick and a fog buck, they're the same value, but they're not the same thing. If you have a fog buck, you've got it forever or until you give it away or spend it. If you have a fog bick, you've got it until you give it away or until you spend it or until Fog Bank deletes it. And so Fog Bank reserves the right to suspend and or terminate any fog bick for any reason whatsoever, including no reason at all. So it's all about control with money. Yeah. And I'm giving everybody on the planet 10,000 fog bicks right now. There you go. All right. So, every fog buck has its own unique fog buck identification number. Every fog bick has its own unique fog bick identification number. Every Fog Bank user has its own unique Fog Bank identification user number. And every Fog Bank transaction has its own unique Fog Bank transaction number. So everything's 100% transparent. Everybody everywhere can go online and see where all the currency is and its entire history. So everybody everywhere can go online and see where every unit of Fog Bank currency is and its entire history, including the Fog Bank currency units that have been deleted. So everything's 100% transparent. So there's no funny business, shall we say. It's clean money. It's not dirty money. It's not secret money. It's clean public money. And that's why it's the best money. And there's also a ceiling and a floor. If somebody has 1 trillion American dollars worth of fog bucks and they want to buy more fog bucks, they can't do that because they already have too much money. So there's a ceiling and there's a floor. If you have less than 10 fog bics, you'll receive 10 more fog bics every week that you have less than 10 fog bics. So every week that you have under 10 fog bics, you'll get another 10 fog bics. So nobody can ever be completely broke, and nobody can ever have an infinite amount of cash. So there's a ceiling and a floor. That ceiling will be lowered every year, and that floor will be raised every year. So the gap between rich and poor will be decreasing every year. And that's just one of the many reasons why Fogbank's going to take over. Because Fogbank right now is a cyber currency. Eventually, Fogbank will become the cyber currency. And then Fogbank will become the currency. And then Fogbank will become the only currency. Because people won't want to use any other currency because Fogbank is the perfect currency. So basically, Fogbank's going to eat all the money in the universe. Okay, people will have the option of using dirty money and secret money and bad money, but they'll choose not to because it doesn't make any sense. And that's why Fogbank is going to eventually become the only currency on the planet because it's the perfect currency and it will always be the perfect currency. And yes, I borrowed heavily from Bitcoin when inventing this, but, you know. Now let's talk about topic number 4, the capital. That's one word, the capital. It sounds like 2 words, but it's actually one word. And there's no capital letters because I don't like capital letters. Okay, so I am the owner and founder and president and only employee of both Gig and Fogbank. And I own 100% of Gig and Fogbank, and I always will. And Gig and Fogbank are 2 totally separate businesses.